we are live. Hi, I'm George Montes, Chef Sazon, and we are live at the Sazon Cooking Channel. Today, we're celebrating the kickoff, the start of National Hispanic, not national, international Hispanic Latin Heritage Month, and Latino Eggs, however you want to call it. It's a celebration of all the Latin cultures and all the beautiful thing the Hispanic Latin community has brought to this world. Me, I'm Peruvian and raised in Miami, so I'm Latino American, and my food, my flavor comes from my roots, from the Incas, the Inca culture, right? So speaking of Inca culture, today I'm going to show you how to make my favorite Peruvian dish. This is a dish that I grew up eating from my grandma, my mom, and this is a dish that once a year my mom makes for me for my birthday, and whenever I have a chance, I'll make it for myself as well. It's called Aji de Gallina. Any Peruvians in the house, feel free to say a little what's up, Viva Peru. Any of my Latinos watching, use the chat. Anybody that's watching, feel free to ask any questions about the recipe. If you have a favorite Latin dish that you have, put it in there. If you have a little recipe or something from your grandma, your little abuelita back there, throw it in the chat as well. Feel free to always come back to that. We're going to put the recipe up soon, so you'll have it ready. So a little bit about ají de gallina. Ají de gallina. So gallina means hen. Hen, gallina, hen. And ají is peppers. So this is the ají amarillo. And this is one of the main ingredients of today, ají amarillo. And one of the main chilies in Peru is ají amarillo. And it's really orange, but we call it amarillo. So amarillo means yellow, or orange yellow. So this pepper, it's a beautiful, like floral, not so spicy. It has a kick if you use a lot of it, but we're really aiming more for the flavor. So it's a creamy, starchy sauce. And when I say starchy, it's because you'll see that we're going to incorporate some bread that's soaked in milk. And that's going to give the base for the sauce. Is going to be also laced with some pecans, Parmesan cheese, onions, some garlic, and I'll show you all that deliciousness in a bit. And then the protein is going to be chicken that we're going to poach or boil, and then we're going to shred, and that goes served with rice, potatoes, and a boiled egg. So I think I'm ready to start. I hope you are too. Let's do this. Let me run down the ingredients before we get started, so we get all our mise en place ready to go. Everything prepped to cook. And don't mind that says fried okra on top, but we're making ají de gallina. All right, so we're gonna start off with 2 pounds of chicken breast. You can use, chicken tenders or cutlets. I got the breast and I cut it in half, so it cooks a little faster. We're gonna use 1 bay leaf. That's gonna help us flavor the broth. 4 to 6 cups of chicken broth. 3 ají amarillos. If you can't find ají amarillo whole, you can substitute with about half a cup to 1 cup of ají amarillo paste. We're going to use 4 garlic cloves. We're going to use an onion, a large onion, white or Spanish onion. We're going to do 1 teaspoon of cumin powder. That's going to give a lot of flavor and base to the sauce, to the sofrito. A 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric powder. A 1/4 cup of pecans, roughly chopped. A 1/4 cup of canola oil. And then we're going to do half a cup of Parmesan cheese, 3 cups of white bread, 14 ounces of evaporated milk, 4 Yukon Gold potatoes, 2 hard-boiled eggs, and some olives, 6 olives cut in half. All right? And as a bonus today, I'm also going to show you how to make rice. Something that sounds simple, to some it sounds very challenging. I know for me, when I first started, I was terrified to make rice. In the professional kitchen, I was like scared at my early beginnings for the chef to ask, go make some rice, because I wasn't sure how to make it. And it takes some time to make it. If you grew up in a Latin community, there's no recipes. Everything's like spoken by the spiritual ancestors. And if you ask your mom or a grandma or somebody, they're like, just add un poquito de esto, a little bit of that, un ching de aquí, a little splash of that. And it's hard to write a recipe with un chin, a splash, a dash, a tickle, and a giggle. So it took me a while to kind of narrow it down. But anywho, So first we're gonna get started for the ají de gallina. We're gonna get the chicken breast. We're gonna put the broth in a pot. I already have my broth heating up just to save us a little bit of time. And then we're gonna place that in that broth. You can use water as well. You don't really need the broth. I like to use the broth because it's just gonna give a lot more flavor. We are gonna use the broth in the sauce, so it is important to have a flavorful broth when making sauces. So use chicken stock is recommended. We're gonna add a bay leaf. If you have it near you, and I do, I have an extra piece of garlic, so I'm gonna throw a little garlic clove in there as well. You can also season that, not too heavily, but just put 2 big pinches. And I like to call a frisky pinch, you know, a nice hefty pinch, not a tiny little cat tickle. You want to go just kind of like 2 fingers, and this, boom, do 2 big ones. That should be good. Bring that up to a boil. Once it boils, you can lower that to a simmer. You don't want it going crazy because it's gonna, if the chicken boils in boiling water or boiling liquid, it's gonna get really tough. So you want it to simmer down, you know. So let me put the lid on. I recommend doing this just like this, so that way you save some time and everything comes out quicker. All right, so next step we're gonna do the rice. So all we need for the rice is 1 cup of rice, and we're gonna use long grain rice. So let's measure 1 cup. And get a small pot, get a lid. There you go. Put that away before I drop it. So 1 cup of rice. You could put it in the pot, and I'm gonna soak it with water. Give it a little stir. You can mix it up with your hand. So we're giving it just a mild rinse, a little wash. Not too much, just stir it around with your fingers. You'll see that the water gets cloudy. That's the starch releasing from the rice. So then we're gonna strain that. And we're gonna put that back in the pot. We're gonna put about a tablespoon of canola oil. You can use olive oil, but I'm gonna use a little canola oil, just about a good tablespoon is good. Plenty of oil. We want to put a pinch of salt in here, a couple pinches. And you can turn the stove on. Let's put it medium heat. We're going to lightly toss the rice in the olive oil for about 30 seconds or so, just to get the rice nicely coated with the oil, with the salt. And we're going to measure 1.5 cups of water. If you're just joining us now live, we're making ají de gallina from Peru. All right, so we got our water here. Let me let this heat up just a little bit. We're making the rice. This is going to be the accompaniment for our dish. In all of Latin America, rice is like the main staple part of a component of a meal. Like, there's a saying in Spanish: "Si no hay arroz, no hay comida." You know, if I haven't eaten if there's no rice at the table. And there's always rice. That's like the side dish to any soups or stews and all that good stuff. All right, so the rice is gonna heat up now. I got a medium heat. You get the chicken in the pot. Give this a little mix. And like I said, I cut them in half just so it'll be quicker, because we are gonna need to shred this. So you don't want to boil the whole big piece. Traditionally, this dish is done with hand, so that takes about an hour or so of cooking. All right, so now here's some action in the pot. I'm gonna add 1.25 cups. 1.5 cups, not 1.25 cups. 1.5 cups of water in there. And let's give this a nice stir. And this is your basic rice. You can also throw in here a garlic clove. So I like to give it a little smash. and then just throw the garlic right in there. That's gonna be your aromatic. It's gonna give you that nice flavor, and you need to give some flavor. You can't just boil regular rice. In Central America, Nicaragua, they use a lot of a piece of green pepper or a chiltoma. They throw that in there as well. I like that. Or you could put a piece of onion. So it's good to have an aromatic. Sometimes you could put a bay leaf in there. But your basic rice is little garlic goes a long way. All right, so now we have the liquid in there, we're gonna bring this up to a boil. We're gonna put this on high. And when it comes to a boil, we're gonna put a lid on it. And then we're gonna simmer it down for 18 minutes on low. All right. All right, our rice is cooking. Next step I wanna do, we're gonna get the bread soaked in milk. So we're gonna need 3 cups of bread. Really, this is the best kind of bread for this dish. I feel like growing up, this is what we always used. This is what my mom always used. But you can use any kind of bread. You can use a big loaf, but white bread, because you don't want it really to affect the flavor of the dish. This is just to give us a nice body. So what we're gonna do, we can remove this over here. Remove the crust. You don't want to use the crust. So just grab a serrated knife and just cut around the crust like you're making sandwiches for your kids. And you can discard those or save that for croutons or whatever you want to do with that. All right, so my rice is boiling. I'm going to give this a stir. Put it on low. And cover that. All right, so now we're cooking. We got the chicken right here is boiling. Let me open that up a little bit. And hey Siri, can you put a timer for 18 minutes, please? Thank you, love. All right, so use timers. When cooking, it's important to use a thermometer. It's so helpful to use a thermometer or a timer. Time in cooking, it kind of like it keeps you in line. So you want to make sure you don't forget that the rice is cooking, then you burn it. Especially when you're doing several things at once. I know when the rice is ready, the chicken should be just about ready. It's giving me 18 minutes, okay? So let's continue getting our bread ready. And I like to do the bread part now because you want to let it soak for a good 20, 30 minutes, hours better, so it really softens up, and when we're ready to cook, it's perfect. And we're going to be doing several, for the next 30 days in celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month, we're going to be cooking up a storm. We're going to be doing a bunch of Latin-inspired dishes from every country in Latino America. So stay tuned for a series of videos that are going to be coming out. Next week, we're also going to be doing a live. I'm not sure yet what we're going to make. That's why if you have any requests, put them on the thing. Put them on the chat. And if this is your first time watching, why don't you like and subscribe? I appreciate that. The recipe is also posted on our site, so you can download it there and print it and keep it. And hopefully you can make this wonderful dish. All right, so we're gonna get the bread, and you can just tear it up with your hands. No specific size, because we are gonna puree the whole thing at some point, so it doesn't matter. This bread is really good because it's nice and soft and ready to go. So 3 cups of bread, and then we're gonna use evaporated milk. Can you use a different kind of milk? Yes, evaporated milk is the optimal one, but if you're not into dairy, you can substitute with, I've never done it with coconut milk. I wouldn't substitute it, but you probably can go with coconut milk if you need to. All right, so just give this a good mix. I'm even gonna pinch it with a little salt, just because we like to flavor things as we go. So mix that well. Make sure the bread's soaking up all that milk, and you can just set this aside. All right, just making sure the rice is good. So one important thing when making the rice, don't open the lid like I just did. Let it do its thing. Keep it on low. Just make sure it's cooking. I don't know your stove at home, but everybody's stove is different, so you know the little trick on it. But you want to make sure it's cooking. All right, so that's ready over there. Okay, so next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna dice our onion for the dish. So you're gonna use a Spanish onion. We're gonna cut that in half and dice that small dice. Now we're gonna get our mise en place. This is our chop items. Anything that needs to be chopped, measured out, or weighed out. When cooking, you want to find a little rhythm. So you know you want to get some things cooking, like they say, put it in the back burner. This is exactly what that saying means. Put something in the back burner. You're gonna come back to it, but it's working slowly back there. And while we wait for that, we're gonna maximize our time by prepping our veggies. So we're gonna chop this 2 onions, and that's gonna be the foundation of our, what we call, in Peru we call this aderezo, which is another word for sofrito. This is the foundation of any cooking. Tu aderezo, your sofrito, what in many countries they call it, like in France they call it your mirepoix, like your little veggies that you're cooking. In New Orleans they call it your Holy Trinity, right? So in every cuisine you'll find that there's always some kind of base of aromatics cooking in sauces, like some diced onions, some garlic, some chilies, whatever it is in your case. In our case, we're gonna do onion, and then we're gonna chop some garlic, and then we're gonna chop up the ají amarillo. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. It's been raining over here in South Florida. We're here in Sazon Studios. And the onions make me cry. This is a live show, so these are real tears for you. This is a pretty big onion, so sometimes, you know, recipes you put a large onion or a medium onion, and then sometimes like, what is a large onion, what is a medium onion? This should give you about roughly a good 2 cups of diced onion, right? So that's if you're not sure what's too large of a big onion or too small, try to get 2 cups of diced onion in there. All right? I'm gonna put that here to the side, and then I'm gonna get my peppers. But first I'm gonna wipe my tears. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. All right. While I let my eyes kind of, I'm gonna put this lid on it. There you go. That might stop some of the pain right there. Let me check on the chicken. Like I said, you don't want a vigorous boil on the chicken, so lower that a little bit, like medium, nice medium heat. It smells so good in here. We got Mandy's on the back, and the 1s and 2s back there. You don't see her, but I see her. Yeah, so the chicken looks almost ready. How do you know? You know, I cut them thin, so it should be within 50 minutes for something thin, an inch thick, it's ready. So I'll show you in a second what we're gonna do. Let it go for another 5 minutes, and then we're good. All right. So while we wait for the chicken, I'm gonna dice up the ají amarillos. So we're gonna do 3 of them. And we're gonna remove the seeds, because you want this. We want the flavor of the ají. We don't want all the extra heat. If you want it spicy, you can add an extra ají amarillo, or if you can add maybe the seeds of 1 pepper, but you don't want to add all those seeds. I think it gets too spicy. So we can scrape off. Even with a knife, you can scrape off the seeds. Mandy, you like Peruvian food, right?
Well,
Well, yeah, you married a Peruvian, but I don't know if it was for the food, but it came with a package. It, pun intended. So ají amarillo is the most popular chili in Peru. Is used in multitude of dishes, and in this dish is primordial. It's called ají. It's an ají de gallina. So we're gonna cut these into strips, and then we're gonna roughly dice them a little bit. Anybody at home knows what time is it? How long has that rice been? 9 minutes. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Siri. All right, so we have our ají ready to go over here. This is the good thing about having a big board, because as you chop, you can just push things to the side and not have to put things back in plates and whatnot. Hmm? So next we're gonna chop up some garlic. We need 4 garlic cloves. If you like a little extra garlic, this is where you're the chef of the kitchen and you can add a little bit more of your flavor. You can add 1 or 2 more cloves. I'm sure a fellow Peruvian will be like, well, that's not how it goes. This is not the way my mom makes it or my grandma makes it. You know, even within Peruvians, our house recipes are very territorial. So everybody has a little different twist. If you have a twist I haven't heard, I always like to hear a new iteration or new little tricks. So we're going to smash the garlic. Oh, that one flew out of here. We don't need that. And then we're going to chop it up, mince that up really nice and small. As I'm making Peruvian food, I immediately think of pisco sours. I smell the Peruvian food in the air, and I immediately want to have a cocktail, a pisco sour cocktail. I believe it's almost 5 o'clock, right? Or it is 5 o'clock somewhere. It's 5 o'clock here. that's for sure. All right, so we want it nice and small. You don't have to go too crazy with the chopping because we're gonna puree all this. So this is pretty good. This is pretty small enough. Let me see if I give you a closer view. Boom. Chopped garlic. Okay, so we'll set that up here to the side. Have that ready. Also, in the recipe, it calls for turmeric powder. I did not have turmeric powder, but I do have fresh turmeric, which I put in my smoothies every day. Fun healthy fact: turmeric is great for your brain. My wife would beg to differ, but she's like, drink more turmeric. So we're just gonna chop that up small. The turmeric it's my kind of touch. I like it because it just gives that nice golden color that the dish it makes that golden color pop in the sauce. So it's just a little bit. It doesn't really affect the flavor too much, but it's just like a subtle extra touch that I like to add to mine. So I'm gonna put that with the ginger, with the garlic, and have that ready. But now let me take off the chicken. The chicken is definitely ready now. Let me get a little tray so I can put that in. Perfect. And one way to check, you can just grab your breasts and with some tongs, just kind of break the breast in half, and see you go. That's cooked, fully cooked. So how do you check? Just grab the breast and shred it. We're making a chicken for chicken salad, just like big, thick shreds, something like that. About no thicker than an inch thick, and about 2 inches long. So this is hot, obviously. So we're gonna remove this from the pot, and you can pop it in the fridge really quick so you can chill for 10 minutes. And then we'll shred this in a bit. Speaking of, can you hook me up over here? My wonderful assistant. Thank you. Hold it from the sides. Got it? Awesome. All right, so the rice should be almost ready. I can feel the timer approaching. We have our onions ready to go. And another thing that I want to get going, since I have the pot here with that stock is good. So if you have chicken stock, we are going to use that stock soon, because we're gonna need about 2 cups for the recipe. But we're gonna cook in that pot the potatoes that we use for the dish. So you can use Yukon Gold potatoes. Potatoes are one of the most important ingredients in Peruvian cuisine. It comes from the Andean region of Cusco, from the mountains part of Peru. So potatoes come from there. They're not from Ireland. They're from Peru. And you talk to any Peruvian, we always brag about potatoes. I don't know why. It's just like our thing. So, and in that spirit, I'm going to brag that we have over 4,000 potatoes in Peru, 4 varieties. We have a potato university. So if you want to get your scholarship in potato, go to Peru. So we're going to cut these into about 1-inch thick wedges. And I'm going to cook them in that stock or chicken broth. And we just want to cook them for, I don't know, 10 to 15 minutes, 12 minutes maybe, so they're nice and soft, and then we'll remove them from there. Okay, so get your potatoes ready. Now we got our rice ready. And we're going to start. All right, perfect, timer. Oh, wow, perfect. So once the timer goes off for your rice, 18 minutes have passed. I know you're tempted to open this and like, wow, what's going on here? Do not touch that. Leave the lid on. Set it aside for 10 minutes. Hey, Siri, can you put a timer for 10 minutes? Thank you, darling. All right, so put the rice in the back burner, get that out the way. And now let's get ready to cook our sauce. So we're going to need a pot or a wide pot. I'm going to use a wide pot because I want you to see what's going on here. And we're going to heat this up. Now we are cooking up a storm. Let me move some of this stuff. All right. And hopefully you got your other ingredients as well, your cheese and your pecans, but we can also get them as this starts cooking. It gives us a little time to gather whatever's missing. So, you know, at home, it's not like we're in a professional kitchen where you're like, you got to get your mise en place. You want to get everything ready before you even start cooking anything. But sometimes at home, it's not a competition and you're not impressing the chef or anybody. But you do want to manage your time and be organized. So you do want to prep some stuff, get that going, then prep other stuff, get that going, all that good stuff. All right, so heat up your pan. We're going to put a 1/4 cup of canola oil. Get that nice and hot. And we're going to put our onions and our ají amarillo in there. All right? This is the foundation of our aderezo, our sofrito base, our aromatics. That's going to really give all that good flavor to our sauce. For this, I would recommend a wooden spoon. We're also going to need a blender at some point, so either an immersion blender if you're using like a taller pot, or if you're using a big pan like I'm doing, I would recommend putting it all in the blender so you can puree this. So when I put something in the pan like this, and now I'm starting to hear some action, it's heating up. I didn't need to be on high. Just want to really cook it from low and then slowly get it, soften them up and get a little bit of color, but we're not really getting too much caramelization here. It's more translucent, more soft. But it's always good to toss it up a little bit in that oil, just so everything is coated in that oil. And then don't touch it too much. Let us do its thing. Oh yeah, these potatoes are gonna be so good in that broth. All right, so while we wait for the onions to cook up, we have our ginger, we have our turmeric, we have our pecan standing by, we have our cheese standing by. Um, bring your bread and milk mixture, have that nearby you, and we're gonna stand by for a second. Okay, let me show you how the bread's looking. Funky. But this is what you call, in French, they call this a panada. Whenever you're making meatballs, this is what you put, right? A little milk and bread. So this is what is like a fluffer to your proteins. In a lot of cultures, meat is expensive. So this is a way to like really multiply your sauce, thicken up a sauce in meatballs or any like sausages. This kind of just like puffs it up and like multiplies the meat, right? It's a poor man's trick from back in the day. Fluff it up with bread and stale bread. You can use stale bread. Probably stale bread is best. That way you repurpose that bread. All right, so once you see you start getting a little color on those onions and garlic, I mean the ají amarillo, give it a little toss. Let it be for another minute or so. You can season this with salt and black pepper. If you're the white pepper person, sure, go for it. Because this sauce is kind of light colored, so some people like to put white pepper for light colored sauces. I like black pepper for everything pretty much. Give that a mix and just let that be. If you're cooking this at home right now, your house is on fire. This is ají amarillo everywhere, onions, so delicious. That stock is like in the air. I don't know. Now you just feel like dancing. I'm still waiting for that cocktail. No pisco. I gotta get the pisco. I'll do it after. And stay tuned for the end. I have a special announcement at the very end of this. I'm gonna save it for the end because that's what teasers do, right? So you know what? Let's add our garlic and our turmeric. And let that cook. Let that cook up. And ideally, in a perfect world, you want to let this go. You can go literally 15 to 20 minutes just doing the onion part. If you do like a nice medium low heat kind of vibe. That's why, the Peruvian food, a lot of people complain that it's a hard cuisine to cook because there's a lot of stews and it takes it's a little more time consuming than most. I like to boast and say it's because we care about all this stuff and therefore, good things take time. And in cooking, there's a couple ingredients that are paramount in your success. Love or passion are two important ones, but patience is a very, very, very critical one. So cooking kind of helps you tame yourself, pause yourself, and it's fun. Look, it's hands-on. For me, this is my therapy, and I'm sure for you, any foodie that I talk to, cooking is that. It's hands-on. You smell things, you taste things, all that good stuff. You know what I'm going to add to this now? My cumin. So you can add that now. What do they call for 1 teaspoon of cumin. Again, this is now we're in the flavor side of things, and when you're following recipes, there might be certain nuances that you don't like. Like, I don't know if I like that much cumin, or you know what, it needs more cumin. You could add a little bit more there. You can fine tune that. It's like lowering the certain kind of levels in the dish. So if you want a little bit more of that earthy oomph, add a little bit more cumin. If you don't have it, This is an important ingredient. This is a good foundation of flavor, and cumin is important in here, so don't omit this recipe. All right, so add the cumin, give this a stir, make sure the whole party's dancing together here. You want to incorporate everything, and we're building this whole flavor right here. The chicken is chilling, so we're gonna give that but another 5-10 minutes. We have no rush. In a couple minutes, we're gonna add the pecans. We're probably in a minute. You can use pecans. I think I like the pecans. I think at home it was always walnuts. Probably because we didn't have pecans. I don't know, but I think some people do pecans, some people do walnuts. Either one works. I think pecans have a different kind of crunch that I like. So let's add that in there. Pecans. Now, if you're allergic to nuts, you can omit the nuts. The recipe will be good. I promise. But the nuts in Peruvian cuisine, you'll find it often in a lot of sauces. Peanuts, we use a lot of peanuts in sauces, and we use it more as a flavor component. In this case, it's going to be ground in there, so you're going to get this little nutty back of the taste flavor, back of the mouth taste, back of the taste. Put a little bit more pepper in there. Not sure if we have any questions out there. Mandy will throw them out there. And if you learn to make this sauce, this dish can also be made with tuna. That was another easy tuna. Yeah, so the question that someone posted is like, can you switch out the protein to anything other than chicken? And yes, you can. So growing up, canned tuna, believe it or not, it's a good substitute for this. I've never had it with beef. I wouldn't do it with any beef items. If you want to go vegetarian, maybe you can do like a jackfruit and do an aji de gallina with jackfruit. Or like some artichokes or some hearts of palm, and then you have kind of like a vegetarian vibe to it. All right, that's the rice. Is that the rice timer? Okay, good. So perfect. So I'm gonna let this cook for a little bit more, and we're gonna go check on the rice. Here we go. All right, let me get you a bird's eye view up here. So let me get my spatula ready. So at this point, the rice should be cooked. We're gonna find out. Now we're gonna fluff the rice. So you can get a little fork or a spatula, a wooden spoon. Look at that. You want to first remove the garlic, that garlic clove. I always like eating it, but I'm not gonna eat it now. I shouldn't be putting stuff in my mouth, right? So what I like to do is hit it with a little bit of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, and then give this a little fluff. So just kind of bring it back up. Let me see. Look at that. Perfect, nice and fluffy. So if you're scared of making rice, don't be. I just made it live with you, and if you follow these steps, you can make this too. All right, you can taste this here too if you want to make sure you have the right amount of salt in there. Speaking of taste, don't forget your onion. My little sofrito here is cooking up. Yeah, let me try a little bit. Nice and fluffy. So if you're making this, put this in the back burner, keep it covered. It'll stay warm for another 30 minutes or so, and we'll come back to that. So we have our rice ready to go. All right, so now, look at this. We got some color here. This is good. The pecans are toasting, so I want to, make sure I get all the oils from the pecans out by toasting them. The onion is nice and soft. We get a nice golden color from the turmeric, and the flavors right now are like boom in your face. So we're gonna add half a cup of chicken broth. just to soften up the onions a little bit more. Is that 2 cups? Yeah, that's half a cup right there. We're deglazing. So when, if you ever see the term deglazing in a recipe, that means when you're sauteing or like frying, pan frying something like this, like sauteing, deglazing is adding a liquid to the pan. And what deglazing does, helps remove anything that's stuck to the bottom and good stuff that's stuck to the bottom. I'm not talking about burnt, something that's burnt. You don't want to put a liquid. If it's burnt, I would switch the pot to a new pot so you don't get that burnt taste. But deglazing is going to help remove any of the fond, the bottom part of the pan, all those flavors that's sticking to the bottom. That's really the soul of the dish. El pegado, the little part that's stuck to the bottom. So you want that. All right, so just by adding that half a cup right now, see how it's reduced. The vegetables got nice and soft. And we just want to let that fully evaporate. And we're going to add that in there. All right, so now that it's fully all in there, we're going to add the chicken, we're going to add the bread and the cheese. All right. Actually, sorry, the cheese we'll save for later when we blend this. All right, look at that. Now this may look funky because you're not used to seeing it. But once you try this, wow. Right. So give this a stir, mix it up nicely, and get your blender ready. We're gonna blend this. Okay? Get that. Oh yeah. All right, so remove from the heat. Put that in there. Everything in the blender. We want this nice and smooth. Old school traditional Peruvian recipes, they don't even use the blender. They just kind of stew it all, and it's a little chunkier, but this is a little more refined. Now, if you feel this is too thick, you can add, we have a cup and another half cup of stock into this. So I'm going to add a half cup right now. And just a little bit of liquid in there is going to help so the blender doesn't get stuck. And let me blend this. And you know what I want to do while we wait for this, while we blend, and I'll get the potatoes out in a second. I want to put a little video of our live cooking classes that we do. If you haven't been to any of our live cooking presentations, or we do these privately as well, I'm going to put a little fun video of one of the last ones that we've done. All right? I'm going to go blend this. So blend the sauce. All right. So I blended it a little bit. Also in the blender, I'm gonna add the cheese in there. So let me get this a final blend, and then we're gonna put it all back in the pot, in the pan. It's looking really good. So, look at that. Let me show you a view from the top. Look at that. Nice and creamy. This is still a little thick. We're going to finish it up in the pan now with a little bit more stock. You want to cook it with the stock for at least 10 to 15 minutes because we do want to cook off some of that starchiness from the bread. If not, it just tastes a little too plain. So, but this gives us a nice, creamy, smooth texture. So let's put that on medium, and let's add the remaining broth that the recipe calls for. If you cook it for too long and it gets too thick, you don't need to panic. You can add just a little bit more broth or a little water, and it'll be fine. Okay. So you just slowly mix it up with that broth. And we're gonna let this cook up. And about, start it high. You want to make sure you get some action, like medium high. Once you start seeing some bubbles, then you can lower it to a medium heat, and then we'll proceed to cook it in this time. At this point, if you want to check on the chicken, I think this is a good time so we can shred it. We have a question? Yes? Huh?
Gluten allergies. Is it okay to substitute like a gluten-free bread?
All right, so the question was someone is gluten. Can we do this gluten-free? That's a good question. I've never done it gluten-free. The bread is obviously the gluten component in here. No, that I don't have an answer for that from the top of my head. What can be gluten-free instead of the bread? Yeah, I think the bread is a big part of this dish, which would be hard to. But you know what? I'll think about it and make sure I'll return to you with an answer if I have one. All right, I'm gonna give it a little taste. One, you want to make sure this is tasting the way I like it. So you want to check it for salt. At this point, we're not gonna add any other ingredient besides the shredded chicken. So salt is the last final touch. So let's give it a little taste. Oh yeah, it was nice. Yeah, so I'm gonna add a little bit of broth because it feels a little thick for me. I added an extra piece of bread in there. So by adding just a little bit more broth, that's if it gets too thick. In my case, it's a little thick, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more of that broth and a little bit of salt since I added that extra broth. All right, so I'm gonna check on the chicken. Or Mandy, can you give me the chicken? Thank you. That chicken is running wild. Yeah. Chicken should be nice and cool now. So I can plug some chickens while we wait for the sauce to finish up. Thank you. All right, so just start plucking it. This is the best way. While the chicken still it's not cold, you don't want to get the chicken like ice cold. We just want to temper it back to like it's a poppable, uh, warm or cool. And if there's any pieces of fat, that you want to remove. You do not want to put pieces of fat in that. You want this nice shredded chicken. Turkey. You know, somebody asked, what other protein can you use? Uh, Turkey, you can do with turkey. I think in the past I've done it after a Thanksgiving leftover turkey action. Uh, ají de pavo, turkey. So any white meat like this is good. Chicken, turkey, I would say, or tuna. The other white meat, the chicken of the sea. And the shreds, you don't want to go too tiny like it's chicken salad, but not large chunks. You want about no thicker than an inch. And then we'll start adding that. Once it's all shredded, we're gonna add that to the sauce. Yeah, this is definitely my top, my number one Peruvian dish. There's so many that I like. Lomo saltado, papas a la huancaína, ceviche, of course. The classics. Those are great. Arroz con pollo, arroz con pato, mazamorra morada. Not like diving into there. Yeah. Some of these names are really hard to pronounce because they come from the Quechua. Quechua is a dialect from the Incas. So you get all these funky names from that side of town, from the indigenous tongue. Quechua, not ketchup. And if you're just joining us, you got to catch up. So we're making ají de gallina. I'm shredding the chicken for the dish. We have some potatoes already boiled, ready to go. Speaking of, let me check on those potatoes. Just poke one. Oh, yep, it's ready. Nice and soft. So potatoes are ready. I just turn them off, let them sit in their broth. We got rice. Made some rice. And we're on the last leg of our dish here. Shredding the chicken, getting that ready to go. If you have trouble finding ají amarillo, go to Amazon. You can literally go to Amazon and get them in a jar, or you can get them as a paste as well. So now I think ají amarillo is an ingredient that can be found online if you can't find it locally. I know people, I get some people asking me from Asheville, North Carolina, like, where can I get ají amarillo? Go online. A lot easier. All right, so let me give this another stir. The sauce is looking good. Nice golden color. And if it's starting to stick in the bottom, you want to be careful because the sauce is thick and it's full of starch, right? So the starch tends to stick and burn, and there's cheese in there. So you want to make sure there's not a high heat because you don't want this to burn, because as soon as it burns, the whole flavor is going to get tarnished here. A couple more minutes and then we're going to add the chicken. You have any other questions out there, Mandy? Steady watchers, all right. Any of my Latino peeps celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month? Put your country in the chat. Love you guys. Thank you guys for always watching. Next week we're gonna post several brand new videos, so stay tuned for all that. And stay tuned for the end. We have an announcement to make. You're excited? Oh, well, I'm excited. You don't know what it is? Yeah, good. Surprise. All right, let me give this another taste, just because I can smell it and it drives me nuts. Now I want to just dive in there. Woo! A little more salt. It's nice. I personally would put a little bit more ají amarillo, and I am. You know what? Because I'm gonna eat this for dinner. So if you like a little more spicier, if I can even open this. If you like it spicier, go for it. Add a little bit more. So I'm gonna add. This is the paste. This is the ají amarillo paste. It's already pureed. And this is an easy go-to ingredient that I recommend you should have in your house. It's not just for Peruvian food. Just a spoonful of ají amarillo in your dish, it's just gonna give you a oomph of flavor. So, a couple more spoons of that.
Can you show a close-up of the brand?
The brand, yeah, this one is called Belmont. You can definitely get this one online. This is a good one. And they have a bunch of other Peruvian products. Later on in the chat, we can post it. We can post a link so you guys can find it. They're not paying me for this, but I like to hook you guys up with my plug. All right, so I'm gonna mix that up, and I'm gonna add the chicken now. Let's add the chicken right in there. Oh, big chunk in here. Forgot about that guy. If you want to multiply, just shred it a little thinner. I think that's how we did it back then. But you don't want it too small. All right, so then just marry everything up. Let's roll that chicken in that sauce, and we're gonna let the chicken cook up for another couple minutes. Doesn't take too much. You just want to really heat up the chicken and let it kind of like absorb and soak up some of the sauce. You know, like anything this is almost like feels like a stew or like a creamy chicken kind of vibe. This is gonna taste so much better even the next day. Tomorrow, once it settles and you heat it up again, this is gonna even be so much better. I mean, it's gonna be so good right now. So I just constantly mixing it. Want to make sure that every little piece is fully coated and mixed up in that in the ají sauce. Oh yeah, this is gonna be fantastic. So let's say about 2 minutes. I'm gonna begin plating up. So I'm gonna clean up my board here. For garnishes, a boiled egg is the traditional garnish. A Peruvian olive is the garnish. I don't think I have Peruvian olives because sometimes those are hard to find. But if you don't have Peruvian olives, you can get some Kalamata olives. Those are really good. They're similar. But the Peruvian ones, they're a lot fatter. They're this deep, beautiful purple. They're called botija or Alfonso olives. So put a couple of those. This will be a nice garnish. I feel like in Peru, all of our dishes is garnished with an egg. With an egg or an olive or a piece of lettuce. Like, all right. This is so freaking good. All right, let me get my plate. Make sure it's that nice and center there. Okay, this is good. I got my eggs. Where I put my huevos? So here I got a couple eggs. I'm just gonna cut those into quarters. Have these standing by. All right. I love the egg. I love the egg. I love the potato. Like the whole thing is just gets me going here. All right. I'm gonna begin by plating up some of these potatoes. I'm just gonna put a couple pieces in there. You could drain them out so you have water out. Let me drain some. Let me drain some out because I don't want all this water on my plate. I'm gonna make this beautiful for you guys. I'm gonna drain some out. So you can just put some on a paper towel just to pat them dry, so they're not bleeding, dripping onto the plate. All right. And then we'll plate these up. There we go. All right, so Yukon Gold potato is good for this dish. Next, we're gonna get our rice. So, give you the easy, the plate up way. We're gonna just get a little cup, a little ramekin, and just like pack that in there. This is what a lot of restaurants do. You just kind of like pack in your rice. Gonna give it a nice shape, and then you're just gonna kind of flip that right there. Boom! Look at that. Easy peasy. Now we're gonna get a good part. Our ají de gallina. Nice and thick. Let's plate that up. I like to first begin with some of the big chunks. So try to scoop up some rather large pieces, and then put that kind of in the middle, a little bit on top of the potato. Look at that. Once you feel you have about a good 10 ounces of meat, it depends who you're feeding. I'm not sure. If you're feeding me, probably I would get another scoop. And then just pour any extra sauce right there. Let that kind of ooze down. Put some of those potatoes. Look at that. Do one more scoop over here. And next we're gonna put our garnishes. We have our little eggs right in there. Boom. Put a couple olives around just to give us a little contrast of color. And if you have, you can also garnish with a little piece of ají amarillo. Why not? We're representing the tribe over here. So just put a little sliver of ají amarillo there. Give you the little full Peruvian touch. Another garnishes that people use too, the same pecans that we used. You could crush up some pecans or just chop a little bit more and put some on there too. I like the little extra crunch. So these are all the garnishes that are cool. They're cool stuff to go with this. Cool story, bro. And here we go with our ají de gallina. Ooh, qué rico. Delicioso. So look at that, nice creamy chicken on top of this potatoes, our little egg and our rice, and voila. It's so pretty I don't even want to break it. All right, I'm gonna save this for Mandy, and I'm gonna make myself my own portion. So let me put a little rice in mine. Let's see how it is. I like to get a scoop of rice, the whole 9 yards in there, and a piece of potato as well. Oh yeah, let's do this. Man, this is great. I'm biased. I made it. I'm also biased because I'm Peruvian. The crowd's going nuts. The crowd's going nuts. That's what my stomach and my brain's doing right now. They're high-fiving each other. This is fire. So if you're new to the Peruvian cuisine, or if you know some Peruvian food and you never had this dish before, you have to try this. And even better, you should make it yourself. I'm going to sign off, and I do have some news. Huh? I think we're taking some pictures. We're going to take a picture. Talk to me. Okay. Yeah. You want an egg? All right. I'm going to give you a little picture shots. But the good news, with the special announcement, our mixology event, our monthly mixology event is coming up. And we have the date and time. It's slated, ready to go. We're going to post it live. Right after this, we're going to post it Um, it's already posted. Oh, look, they're better than me. So when is it? September 30. September 30 at 9 p.m. We're gonna have our monthly mixology party where I'm gonna show you how to make 2 cocktails. We're gonna make this month. We're gonna make a Jack Rose, which is an elegant apple brandy cocktail, and we're gonna make a fig and honey old fashioned. So we're kind of like leaving behind the summer, and now we're gonna join into the beginnings of fall. So a little apple fig action, I think, is a good bridge into those seasons. And of course, I'm gonna have my homeboy DJ Mario. It's me, Mario, on the ones and twos. So we're gonna be doing a couple DJ live sets. And if you've done this before, you know it's a party. It's fun. We're chilling. We're here making cocktails and dancing, and it's a different kind of party. All right. So, any questions, recipes, everything's gonna be down there. I'm gonna jump off soon. Please subscribe and like, share with all your foodie friends because there's nothing better than cooking with friends. And I'll see you soon. Thank you for watching. A pan-seared churrasco with a blackberry chimichurri. If you ever had a chimichurri sauce, normally it's done with herbs. Parsley is normally the main herb. We're gonna use parsley as the main herb, but we're also gonna use some blackberries. Chimichurri is a sauce that I love using with steaks, so it's gonna be a little tart, herbaceous, and it's gonna be perfect with a churrasco. And if you're pairing that with a red wine, even better. So we're gonna begin with the chimichurri. We're gonna start with the base of it. We're gonna begin by grating some garlic. So we're gonna grab a couple garlic cloves, and you can use a microplane or a garlic press if you want, and just grate 2 of these guys in there. You should get about a big tablespoon of grated garlic. So now that the garlic is grated, we're gonna add half of our blackberries in the mix. We're gonna muddle these to create a little bit of that sauce. We're also gonna put some chili flakes in there. That's gonna give us some heat. All right, so just grab them and gently just kind of smash them in there. All right, next we're gonna add some citrus. We're gonna add some fresh squeezed lime.